right, welcome to my living room and also the living room of Bob and Julie Etzel. We have a very special program tonight, at least I think it's special. We'll let you make the decision in the end. We're going to be talking to Bob and Julie about their life. And I never realized before how God is working in this couple's life. It's fantastic that a lot of times we hear about how God's journey started and how it ended. This one's in the middle. But Bob and I can see, and Julie can see God's touch all the way. Is that correct, Bob?
That is absolutely correct.
And it's led to a lot of discussions, so many discussions, that we decided on the spur of the moment, since we had a cancellation, that we let you know where things are going. And then if we stay around long enough, let's see where Bob and Julie go. Is that fair enough? Well, if it is,
Sounds good to me.
sounds great to me. And I'm going to be the host. Now, here's what I want to do. I've known you guys for many, many years, and I've had parts of your story, but I've never put the whole puzzle together like we did a few nights ago. And I'm going to tell you what I know and have you comment on it. If I miss some spots or make a mistake, just correct me. And since we're not rehearsing this, if I say something that you don't want to talk about, just tell me. Say you don't want to go there. Is that fair enough?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, you guys recognize Bob, don't you? He's our tech director. And we'll talk about how he got there in just a very few minutes. But the very first thing I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about you guys, because I think the start of this journey started with you and Julie getting married. And I want to know how you did it. Was it love at first sight, Bob? Now, let me ask Julie that. I'm not going to ask you. Julie, was it love at first sight?
Yeah.
You say that now.
I say that.
Because I understand that it wasn't love at first sight. That's why I asked her. Be honest. Did you love him the first time you met him?
I was interested in her, but she was not interested in me, according to her friends that I had asked for information about her. They came back and said, she's not interested. So it took me going away to Bible college and coming back. And actually, my mom and her best friend talking after church as we're getting ready to walk out the doors. And my mom says, you know, he could use a good woman. And her best friend says she could use a good man. And then they both just stared at us. And yeah, it evolved from there.
Okay, now let's see if I understand this. You were a minister at the time, so you have something to start with. You started your journey as being a full-time pastor. Was that it?
Youth pastor, just part-time, not mainly volunteer type position as the youth pastor at church.
But you had a degree?
Yeah.
Did you think, by the way, this is very interesting to me, because I think our listeners and viewers should realize how the journey starts. Did you figure you'd be a pastor all your life?
I figured I'd be in some area of full-time ministry, whether it was youth pastor, minister of music, associate pastor, pastor eventually type thing, that was the way that my whole life was going to go, was full-time within the church itself.
So you married somebody that was a minister. It's tough to be a pastor's wife. Did you take that into consideration before you said I do? Julie.
Yeah.
Did it appeal to you?
Not really.
Not really.
The music side appealed to her as far as traveling, because I was doing some of that at the time. And so she was anxious to go on the road with me to, see all kinds of places, meet all kinds of people, and be in the music side of things.
From the time that you met each other till you got married, how many years passed?
From the time we met until we got married?
A year and a half.
Well, yeah. A year and a half we were engaged, but only 30 days for dating.
Okay, now we're at your wedding. You're married, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a picture? Oh, there it is. I was going to ask if you had a picture. Man, you guys Very, very good looking couple. I can see the good man and the good woman there. That's really good. So now you're married and you decide to have a family. How many children do you have?
2.
We have 2. And because we were in music at the time, they got the musical names Melody and Harmony.
Now, wait. You're having them. That's funny. You have them posing in front of a brat sign. Is that intentional, Bob?
It's supposed to be 2 brats for $4.50 at a gas station, but I put my girls next to it, and of course, it looked like 2 brats for $4.50.
I hope you didn't get any offers.
No, I had just the opposite when we posted that on social media.
Is that what they look like today down below?
Yep. Got a senior in high school, Melody, over on the far right, and an 8th grader, Harmony. And time has gone by quick.
Way too quick.
So now you're married, you got kids, and I understand, I don't know when this happened, but all of a sudden you became a big radio personality out of Detroit. Do you remember that? How that took place?
Yeah, Shannon Caldwell was the morning host, and she had mentioned a need to go out, and she wanted to start this thing called a Joy Flash Mob. And so I contacted her, said I had some sound equipment, some experience. And so I got the title from WMUZ of Flash Mob Bob, and went around and we did these flash mob events to be able to share the joy of Jesus in public places. And then I would help co-host the morning show with her a few times a week.
Is the flash mob the thing where you go into a mall and all of a sudden everybody starts dancing?
That's it.
You were doing that?
We were doing that with music about God. It was really neat.
Okay, now that's your first tech job. Now let's take it a step farther. Let's go into, I'm going to skip to what I know. And this did lead to where you are today. You met me because I must have asked you to come to my church, Living Hope. We did concerts twice a month. And did I call you to come? And there you are singing at the church. Did I call you to come?
Well, first time we had some friends that were singing there. And so we came down to support them and to check out your ministry there. And I noticed you were running a social media live from an iPad. And so I kind of just talked to you afterwards and tried to find out if you'd be interested in maybe, upgrading a little bit of your live streaming.
Okay, get this idea now. We're having these big time artists coming. And I had no ability in tech, but I bought an iPad and I set it up at the back of the church and filmed from there. So the figures were like real small. And Bob knew a little bit about tech and he thought that was kind of silly. And so I guess you asked me, is that how it came that you volunteered to come down free and set up in our church our ability to live stream, which turned into Facebook Live? Is that correct?
That's right. At the time, I was working a little bit of tech at a church where I was worship leader. And so I had just been learning about social media broadcasting, and we were doing it there. And said, let me come down and bring some of those things that I've learned to your church.
And you came down with groups and you came down alone and you sang for us. And our church was really impressed with you. In fact, I remember something that maybe you remember. I remember the day that you were in a hurry because we put you up in a hotel, a real cheap hotel. And you and Julie and the kids got up late. And to get there, you went a little too fast on the Ohio roads and you got a ticket. And we collected money to pay your ticket. Is that correct?
Yep, you did. You took up a separate offering because there was a little girl in your church who said, Mr. Bob, please don't go to jail. Because she thought I was going to go to jail. And so I think she said something about we need to help them stay out of jail. And
now,
so
see how God's working, folks. Do you see that yet? Even though we're joking back and forth, we've looked back on this and now we see it. An encounter with us where he wasn't even invited to church led to our streaming, which has been absolutely fantastic and still being used today, even though I retired from there, to this incident where he learns tech work. He was doing some repairs, but he actually became free twice a month and set our whole thing out and trained our whole crew.
Mhm.
Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Are
Yep.
you following, folks, how God works? Well, stay tuned because we got more. Okay, next. After a while, I lost contact with Bob and we went to Pigeon Forge. And at Pigeon Forge, Bob was performing. For what? What were you performing for?
The Biblical Times Dinner Theater.
And you had a starring role, didn't you?
Yeah, I was the MC, performer, singer, pretty much did it all.
Now, you're not listening to God, you're listening to your own heart. You were where you wanted to be. Big time singer, going to Hollywood, being in many movies. And is that something like maybe you thought?
I mean, my name was up on the big sign. My picture was up on the big sign as
Yep.
you came into Pigeon Forge. And yeah, I kind of thought, oh boy, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what it's all about. But that was me.
Well, I got in touch with you because I'd gone to a play or something and we ate with you after. Didn't even know you were going to be there. We ate with you. And we got talking so much that all the Uber rides were closed down. And so you had a very small little car and you took my family and everything in about 2 trips, right?
Yep, two runs.
Then after that, very shortly, and I got to see if I got this right, you had a tragedy that actually led to you leaving the biblical theater. What was it?
Yeah, we ended up in a head-on collision on my 40th birthday. And it ended up putting me out of the theater work for so long that they ended up having to find somebody else, and they ended up having to cancel my contract.
So your Oscar award was never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Okay, now let's see. And if I miss something out, let's talk about it. But I didn't see you for a while. And then I started something called Mathis Ministry, where I began to bring big artists into our small town after COVID to try and rebuild churches. And you began to help me because I wanted to go on Facebook Live. Explain it, Bob.
Yeah, so you wanted to be able to promote those events, but you didn't want to just come on and do that. You wanted to have some people on, the guests that are going to be coming into town. You wanted to get them some exposure ahead of time to let people know who they were. So you'd bring them on, talk to them, interview like this. And through that came Lessons for Life, and started just on social media.
You came up with that name, by the way. You came up with the name.
I think I did.
Yeah, I remember it very well.
And so then we had the little chalkboard
Show.
background.
I just want to call it Dave's show, but you said how Lessons for Life. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So we developed that and started with just a very basic social media broadcast. We had this little chalkboard background that had the name of the program, Lessons for Life, and had the artist name. And I thought it was so clever because of lessons and teaching and you being a teacher that we put this chalkboard background up. And when we decided we were going to do more, that was the first thing that they said had to go.
And then all of a sudden, I'm a retired preacher now. Actually, the concerts had a fair draw, but they weren't huge. I like things huge, and I was disappointed. So one night, I remember getting a call from you. Would you tell me what the call was? Because I thought it was hilarious. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I called because I had been talking to some friends of ours who actually had their own television network. And after talking to them, I started thinking, we're doing kind of a program that could air on television. What if we move to that level?
Kristen Stanton and Rob Batts, the owners who have been in television.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just contacted you and said, what would you think about maybe going from social media, still keeping that outlet, but putting it on a television network?
And you negotiated a real good price that I could afford out of my pocket.
An incredible opportunity for us.
And then we talked about your wages, and you said $100,000 a year would be plenty, right?
I was totally just wanting to, use this as a ministry. And so as ministry, there can't be a charge. Just want to be a blessing and help other people out.
Now, remember this. This is out of the blue. I'm going to be honest with you because you're on Abundant TV. When I first heard Abundant TV, I knew it wasn't CBS, NBC, CNN, or Fox. And so inside I was laughing, figuring we were going to talk to maybe 100 people a week. We learned pretty quick that, what did we learn, Bob?
Well, we learned our first broadcast went out to over 2,500 people, and we were ecstatic about that. And then within a couple months, we were already up at 10,000 people. And then within our first year, we were up over 30,000 people for just our broadcast, our Thursday night, 7 o'clock spot. We're reaching over 30,000 now, probably upwards in the 45,000.
And then we found out we're overseas and we're reaching $30,000 a week over there.
Yeah, people. Yeah.
Folks, we never dreamed this. And it wasn't easy. Bob was not the great tech man he is now. He was learning. And we had to try out to be on Abundant. So how'd that go, Bob? How did our tryouts go?
First one didn't go well because somebody's camera was upside down the entire broadcast.
I was the one upside down.
Yeah, yours was just upside down. We had
I stood on my head the whole time we broadcast.
Yep, and our special guests were Rob and Kristen to announce.
Rob was Kirsten. Kirsten was the only one that was on.
That's right, it was Kristen. Yep.
And we left her right side up. But
yeah,
anyway,
so we knew by the end of that broadcast.
We weren't ready for prime time, were we? In fact, we
were toast after that.
we thought we were toast. And they were nice to us, weren't they, Bob?
They were. They said, hey, here's some tweaks you can make. Try it again next week and send it to us again. So we did. And they said, here's some tweaks you can make. Try it again next week. And we did. And then they said, here's some tweaks you can make. Try it again next week. And they approved it.
And now you're watching the finished project. Now, remember this, because this is going to take you through some more things. He is now a gospel singer, a preacher, a radio personality, and he's just finished being tested with tech work. So what is God going to do with that? Well, let's take it another step. Meanwhile, you were driving a school bus. That's important too, driving a school bus, but you have to be a licensed driver. And as he drove that, he also got a call from somebody. Well, you tell us.
Yeah.
How did you quit your job?
I got contacted to do commercial charter driving, taking the big charter buses, all across the states and things, driving for big, school functions, whatever it might be, activities and that kind of stuff. And so I actually resigned my position with the school system the 1st of April this year.
Now, Julia, you've been quiet over there. I want to include you here because my wife had she didn't oppose it, but she was not ready to be a minister's wife. I don't even think she's ready with my big head now to be a radio personality on Lessons for Life. How did you take all this? I mean, this is your husband. You didn't sign up for this. Changing jobs, quitting jobs, telling you he's going to be a gospel singer, doing this on the radio, on TV. How did you take all this?
Really, I don't really have an answer for that.
She kind of went along with it as a support, but not necessarily agreeing with every bit of it, but supporting.
Well, one thing I do know from your post is that when he was gone on these long bus tours, that you missed him. Is that correct?
It is.
So did the girls.
Yes.
And I know he missed you.
Yep.
He'd moan about that every time we had a TV program. Okay, now you're driving basically for a secular bus company, right?
Yep.
You even had one of the biggest things you had was taking all the Miss Tennessee contestants around, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now it comes to the fact that, well, this is the funny part of the story. Let's talk about the bus breakdown. Go ahead.
Yeah, so then I get an opportunity. We're kind of slow in the charter season, and so a friend of mine asked me if I would take a bus to Nashville. It was getting delivered to some people there. It was Jason Crabb's old bus. We were taking it there, going to pick up a country music crew, bring them back here towards my house, and then I was coming home. I was done for the night. So yeah, so I just jumped in my car, met with him, and we went down. Just a regular day. I'm going to go 2.5 hours away to Nashville, come right back, get in my bed. I'm good to go. On the way there, get a call about another group that's going to need help getting to Nebraska. And
East Carolina boys, right? The East Carolina boys?
The Carolina the band. Yep. And so Carolina the band needs help getting there. And I said, absolutely. I'll be home by, later tonight, and I'll get some sleep. I'll pack some clothes. I'll jump on your bus and we'll head to Nebraska.
But you never went home.
I never got home. We broke down on the side of the road in that big red bus, and I didn't make it to Nashville until 11:30 that night, which is about 11-hour trip that was supposed to be just a 2.5-hour trip. So now I'm in a hotel getting some rest. Carolina's going to pick me up there at 4:30 in the morning. I haven't even had a chance to get any clothing. I'm literally
the clothes on your back?
Just the clothes on my back. Jumped on that bus at 4:30 in the morning, drove it to Nebraska. On the way, stopped at a Walmart, got me 3 pairs of shorts, a few pairs of underwear, a few shirts, and socks. And that way I had clothing to be able to get me through that weekend. Made it through, but then on the way back.
God doesn't make things easy. I understand also, and I definitely want to leave a little time here, that you had an opportunity. They took you to a Gaither homecoming practice, right?
Yeah, and so I had to get more clothes for that. So when we got into town that Monday night, I went to Ubered to Walmart, got some more clothes so that I'd look good for Mr. Gaither on Tuesday on the video stuff.
There's a picture of you at the Gaither performance, right?
Yep. There's me up in the corner with everybody behind me. And then this is actually the middle picture is the bass singer section. And then you can see Bill Gaither over to the left talking to Ben Isaac. And then there's a shot of the whole crowd there, the homecoming friends as well.
Wow, what a time. Now, all of a sudden, now God's brought you this far. And it's a trip that you never planned to take. And you've been driving for a secular bus company. But something happened there to continue your journey to where you are today. We don't know where this is going to end up. But tell us how you got tied up with Tasha Layton. And who is Tasha Layton?
Tasha Layton is one of the top 5 contemporary Christian music recording artists in the nation. And as we're recording this right now, we have just learned that this morning she got her #1 spot in the contemporary Christian charts with a song called Worship Through It. And just very down to earth, her and her husband. Her husband's the drummer for Toby Mac, and they're just wonderful people. And they brought their little kids on the bus, and then they welcomed Julie to come on. And so for the last couple runs that we've done, she's been right there in the co-pilot seat running the roads with me.
They've hired you as their bus driver. Is that correct?
I am their only choice right now as a driver. They're not looking for anybody else. They've welcomed us on to be part of that ministry.
Hey, I also had going to ask you, if you will, why don't you ask her to be on our program? And she can see the great tech work you do, and you may end up being her tech. I have no idea where this is going to go, but I do know that she has the #1 song, and you brought a clip as a teaser tonight to show us. Would you do that?
Absolutely. Here it is.
I know my God can do it. I'm gonna worship through it. Before I see my breakthrough, I'm gonna choose to praise you. I will sing hallelujah to the one who can do what the
Okay, what a video that is. How do people get that? Can they look at that on YouTube?
Absolutely. They can look up Tasha Layton on YouTube. It's Layton, Tasha Layton. And you can find her on every streaming music platform that there is.
Now, this is where the story ends for us on this date. But Bob is now 45. You don't mind if I tell him, right?
Not at all.
He just did. And he is looking forward to what God has planned for him, because we know this is just another stop on the road, and the train's pulling out from the station and still on the tracks. I want you to pay attention to Bob and where God's going to take him, because I think they're great plans for his life. Now, Bob and Julie, I know you have a favorite Bible verse, which is a great one to close this program with. So I would like you to share that with us as we say goodbye to our audience. What is your favorite Bible verse and why?
1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. And that's what we're trying to do. Everything that we do, whether it's co-pilot in a bus, whether it's tech director, bus driver, whatever it may be, we're just trying to do it for the glory of God.
I praise God for where your life is going, and I praise God for your friendship, both you and Julie. Now, we're going to say goodnight and let you tune in next week at 7 o'clock on Abundant TV and see where we're going with our program during our life. So, folks, we're going to wave goodnight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See ya. Thanks for joining.